Only 7 clubs have won the UEFA Women's Champions League. And on the 16th of May, a new name will be added to the trophy when Barcelona play Chelsea in Gothenburg. The Blues have gone from debutants to finalists in 5 seasons in the competition. For 3 years running, they suffered defeat at the hands of Wolfsburg. But this year, they finally overcame their German rivals at the quarter-final stage. As for Barcelona, their path to a European final has also been a turbulent one. For 4 consecutive seasons, they suffered defeat at the hands of French clubs, including in the 2019 showpiece against Lyon.
No sabíamos cómo iba una final de Champions, ni toda la movida a nivel mediática también previa o posterior, todo el partido, todo el show prepartido, era todo como muy nuevo, ¿no? Y en cambio el Olympique de Lyon para ellas era un día más en la oficina. Y entonces ahí donde...
Hey guys, welcome back to the FANSPIRE, and I'm Priyanka, your host for today. We've got something very, very special today, something different than what we've been doing. Of course, you've seen us talk to various fans from different clubs all over the European leagues and also the Indian leagues. But today, we have the 2 finalists of the Women's Champions League, and we're going to be talking to 2 fans from there. This is so exciting. I have been waiting for this for a long time, and it's about time that we start covering women's football and giving them the attention and support that they deserve. So let's bring on our panelists for today. Hi guys, welcome to the show. Hello Radha, hello Rasika. Glad to have you here.
Hi, thanks to be here.
Hi.
Yes. And of course, congratulations to both of you. You all have won your respective leagues in your countries, and now you all are going to be competing for the finals of the Champions League. So big congrats to you all both.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. So Radha, let's start off with you. Can we hear your thoughts on, this especially the semi-final, the second match, those last few minutes of it? How were your emotions as you all, finally proceeded to the finals?
Yeah, it was a typical high intensity, nerves were high, everything was so uncertain until the 84th or 85th minute. And even after we got that one cushion goal, it was just a case of helter-skelter clearances in our box, and there was never any certainty that we were through until the final whistle had blown. And I think that's the beauty of football, right? That it always keeps both fans on their toes, and it's just this high competitive nature of football is why we watch the game. So it was a typical semi-final in a European competition. It was really good to see, but as a fan, I was just at the edge of my seat the entire time.
Okay, yes, great. And Rasika, can you tell us how you feel finally being through, to the finals and competing for the ultimate glory?
I guess Barca's Femina team has been so good. Like, they have won the league where they won all matches. Like, they have been the competition. They, eager to win each and every match is way beyond. Like, I've never seen in any such team. Even in Champions League final, the way they have gone through games, they deserve to win. Obviously, sorry for Chelsea, but they do. And I feel they're going to win.
Okay, of course. And rather, this Emma your manager, has been waiting for this for many years. So can you tell us something about that and how you feel about her as a manager?
Yeah, every time I get onto these football podcasts and talk about Chelsea, talk about whatever, what's going on in the women's football world, I think Emma Hayes is a big part of the conversation that I bring, because we often forget our managers, right? We often forget that football doesn't begin when the first whistle is blown. It begins when the signings are made and when the strategies are made. And for Emma to sign Pernilla Harder in the summer, and Pernilla Harder is now delivering what she was signed for, right? So we see how the strategy has to be made much more in advance. And I think Emma Hayes has come to Chelsea. It's been over 10 years that she's been here. She's cultivated this environment, this atmosphere where players want to sign extension contracts. Players want to stay in this atmosphere, want to compete. And she's driving the standards for this team. Obviously, we've been in contention for 4 out of 4 tournaments that we're playing, right? We're in contention for the finals. So I think that the fact that we play at such a high level and the fact that we challenge any team in our way really draws players to this team and forces or encourages players to stay within the team. And I think that's really special. That's something that Emma brings that a lot of other managers may not be able to bring. It's that aspect of not just bringing in a footballer, but you're bringing in a personality and a player. And she makes sure that the environment is just not a football team, but it's a family. And I think Emma Hayes deserves a lot of credit for what's going on, on and off the field, the way she manages players who have illnesses, injuries, and rotating bench with a squad that deep, even for Barcelona. I think when teams make it this far in a tournament, they have to have squad depth. And squad depth is a good problem, but it's also a bad problem. Like I'm not even jealous of Emma Hayes because she has a lot of decisions to make every time she puts out a playing 11. So I think Emma Hayes has just been fantastic throughout the season and one of the key reasons why Chelsea is doing so well.
Yes, it's definitely great. She's had that time and the club has believed in her also, and she's been there for such a long time, as you said, unlike the men's team managers, if you go to see. So, yes. So, let's move on to you now, Rasika, for a bit. What do you think in terms of the squad and the team? Do you think both are evenly matched?
I guess, yeah. If you see each and every player in Barca squad in the Femina is giving best. The manager is bringing best out of each and every player, and each and every player is working with the team to win every matches. Like if you see, it's not just being happiness on 1-0 and yeah, we won. You see the team playing together. You see the results also. You see it in 9-0. It's not an easy game, Like your wins are really very beautiful. The game is created. There are tactics and very nicely managed. And I guess it's, yeah.
Yes, Barcelona have, been really good with the ball possession and things like that. Also, if you had to choose one particular aspect that, you all have an advantage over Chelsea, like what would that be? Like what one thing would you choose? 1 or 2 things?
I guess the passion to win, Barca has been playing in each and every game as if it's final. They want to win each and every game and they want to show that we are best. I guess the passion which goes through the team is going to make us win the Champions League.
Okay, and same question to you, Radha. What do you find, in terms of both the teams being evenly matched, and also if you had one thing that you all have an advantage over Barcelona, what would that be?
Yeah, I think both teams are definitely evenly matched. I mean, I think it's very fitting that Chelsea win the English League and Barcelona win the Spanish League on the same weekend. And it's the true Champions League, right? Where 2 champions from different countries are fighting it out for European glory. So I think in that aspect, they are evenly matched. I think Barcelona has a few advantages over Chelsea in terms of they've been in the Champions League final before. They know the kind of atmosphere that it's created. They know the pressure that comes with this final. But I think Chelsea has a good set of advantages with themselves as well because, we've had a good amount of rest before, last weekend we got a good break, I think. Secondly, Emma Hayes, I think one of the best managers in the world, men's football or women's football. She really knows how to go about her business. I think another advantage is that, if I may say so, the English League has been proven to be more competitive this season. If you just look at the tables on both sides, we won the Women's Super League with a couple of points separating us, whereas Barcelona have just plowed through their entire team. And I mean, that's credit to them. It shows how dominant they've been. But if you're 16 points ahead of second place on your table, then surely maybe the competition has not been up to Barcelona's expectations. And that might play a factor in when they come and face Chelsea, where Chelsea have been consistently every 3 days playing the Conti Cup versus Man City, or playing the WSL versus Man City, or playing the FA Cup versus some other team. So it's just a question of having that consistent high intensity competition. I don't doubt that Barcelona have that because they've made it through the Champions League. You have to play the best of the best to be at the final. So it's very fine margins for both teams, but I do see like both teams bringing their own strengths into this game.
I think that's very well put, Radha. Also, let's talk about Chelsea's players. Like, you all have really, really amazing ones. Sam Kerr, Kirby. I mean, they have been such an attacking duo this season for you all. So, do you see the game being a very attacking one with them leading it?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think both teams have solid attackers. I mean, Barcelona's attackers, honestly, this season, looking at the Barcelona forward line scares me. I don't think I could say that for any other team that Chelsea have faced this season. But looking at Barcelona's team, it really puts the thought of God in all Chelsea fans. Having said that, I'm sure the deadly duo of Fran Kirby and Sam Kerr, Pernilla Harder just behind them, kind of creating chances. I think. Both teams are just exceptional, and it's interesting to note that Fran and Sam, this is the first season they're playing together. Fran obviously had an eight month long illness, which was really devastating for her and the team. So she did not play most of the last season. So Sam was also just a new entrant into the Chelsea team, and they were just finding their footing. But this season, I don't understand how Fran Kirby can not play football for 8 months and then come back as a better footballer. Like, I don't know how someone does that. By not playing, how do you become better? But Fran has done that, and it just comes down to the hard work she's putting behind the scenes, the daily rehabs, the rest, recovery, being alone in a ground, up and down with no football around, no teammates around. That's the hard work that pro athletes put in, and so much credit to her. It's probably one of the greatest comebacks I've ever heard of in sport. And I mean, these two have peaked at the right time, and surely they have to peak on Sunday in that final. Our team, it's strength to strength, from our goalkeeper to Magda Eriksson, who's our centre back, our captain. We played 2 matches without her, and honestly, it was not pretty to watch. So the fact that she's there and her presence and her leadership are two things that we really value and the team really values. So I think going into this final, both teams are just in red hot form.
Yes. Again, you've made really good statements about how much hard work goes into being a pro footballer and things like that. So, Rasika, let me ask you about your team. You all have the likes of Laiki Martins, Ursuhala. You all also have Jenny, who's been so good for you. So, how do you see this game going? What is in forms of attacking, defense? What do you wish to see?
If you see the past game of Barca, it has only been attacking. If you see, Barca has been attacking because we have filled with attackers. They just want to score. The defenders is also so good. Our midfielder is also so good. But if you see, it's just attack and just scoring goals, and being on safe side. That if the opposing team scores 1 or 2 goals, also we are on the safe side. But I feel in the finals they should they should play attack for sure, but if you see Chelsea's game also, past games have been so beautiful that even, okay, it's going to be a competition, it's going to be an enjoyment, oh my God, what's going to happen and what's not going to happen. Till last minute, you're going to be scared, who's going to win or who's not going to win. That game is more interesting, So I want Barca to, yes, play attacking, be on a safe side, yeah, you're going to win, and then also defend and not let Chelsea score, because they're going to give 100% according to the last game. I just hope it's a very nice game, and yeah, in the end, Barca wins.
Yeah. Okay. So if obviously it's down to the teamwork, which gets you to win these games. But if you had to choose a few key players who will show up tomorrow in your game, in the final game, who would you choose?
I guess Licky, she's my favorite.
Okay.
Because she's my favorite, and it's not it would have been a normal game, and then how in men's football that okay, Messi's going to score only and then they're going to win. I feel he's going to score and then we're going to win, but then I'm not saying that it's going to be a 3-0 or 4-0 or 1. I feel it can be a 1-0 win also where she scores and then it's done, because we are really fighting a tough team. So I don't think there will be a particular player. I hope Licky scores because I love her a lot. But I want the whole team, to be defensive and, just score 1 and then be defensive and just win the league,
Yes, winning is, after all that, you just want to win at the end of the day. Radha, your take on, a few key players.
Yeah, I think many times we talk about the battle being won in the midfield. And that often is the case, especially with Barcelona's midfielders. I think Alexia Putellas for their team is very, very strong, their captain, their leader. In our midfield, we have Sophie Ingle. She's been one of those rocks, just there for us, anchoring the innings, not the innings, the half and the entire 90. I think she has the capability of sitting back and really making sure nobody comes beyond her, but she also has the capability to spray the ball ahead and create chances. And I think that's what you need in a midfielder. So I think Sophie Ingle is going to be one. Obviously, the telepathy between our two strikers up top is going to be crucial, because ultimately you can keep defending how much ever you want, but if you don't score, you can never really win, right? So it comes down to beating the defenders in a smart fashion. If you can't outrun them, outsmart them in some way. And I think that's what's going to happen tomorrow, because even on Sunday when Chelsea played Reading, there was the entire backline, and Fran, with her skill, chipped it over everyone, and Sam, with her pace, finished it. So an entire line was completely negated with one pass. And I think that's what it's going to come down to. We're going to have to draw a lot of fouls. We're going to have to earn a lot of corners. Barcelona have scored from corners, I think, in both the legs of the semi-final. So I think it's going to come down to, having those set pieces with us. Even in our Bayern semi-final, it came down to that Jess Carter set piece, which Pernilla Harder put in with her head. So we've identified our strengths, and I'm sure Emma Hayes is sitting, planning, identifying the weaknesses of Barcelona. Player-wise, and Katrin Berger, our goalkeeper, I think is going to have the game of her life. If we are to win this, it's going to be down to her. Given Caroline Graham-Hansen and Lieke Martens coming at her, it's going to be one to watch for her.
Definitely. So now let's talk about a little about women's football in general. I think the fact that both your teams are performing at such a high level is because the investment that has been done into both teams. So can we talk a little about are you happy with the way there's an investment, there is money being put into your team, your team is being supported, the women's team is being supported. So can we talk a little about that? Who would like to go first? Any of you?
Yeah, I can start. So, I mean, if you look at a club or you look at football, the football world in general, many times women's football is an afterthought, right? You often have football and then you have women's football. On sporting outlets, it's usually football news and then women's football news. And often when this ESL drama happened, all the men's clubs agreed. But when the club signed, they said, okay, we will drag our women too. We'll have something for them. So I like the fact that it's changing. The fact that women's football is not an afterthought, that has to firstly change. Once that default is broken, once that mindset changes, that's when investment can pour in. At this moment, am I satisfied with the investment coming into Chelsea? Of course not. There's no comparison to the amount of money going to the Chelsea men's side or the academy side compared to the men's side, compared to the women's side. And you can see, despite everything and in spite of all the odds that Emma Hayes has had to face over the years, or the women have to face, they've done great things. They've won the Champions League. They've made it to the final. They've won the WSL a couple of times in a row now. So it comes down to the fact that if we can start winning, then we're going to get investment. Unfortunately, that's the way it's going to work. It should be that invest and they'll win. But we've had to sort of turn the table and say, we're going to perform here, and to consistently keep performing, you need to put money into us. So we won the WSL last year, and then we broke the bank and signed Pernilla Harder. Hopefully, we're going to do one better and win the Champions League this year. And surely Emma Hayes is going to have some big plans for signing in the summer. Surely facilities have to improve at Kingsmeadow. There have been talks of changing rooms not being good enough with this COVID pandemic, away teams not being given great facilities. And that's unacceptable. Especially with Manchester United yesterday, their head coach, Casey Stoney, stepped down because news was because she was not happy with the investment coming in from up top, right? So it's just a question of understanding that it's not football and women's football, it's just football. And you have a couple of teams under your franchise and you treat them all equally.
Yes, totally. I also, another thing, like you pointed out about the facilities that they've been getting, I think it's with all leagues across the world, all women's leagues have been complaining about the same problem. And it's time people out there know that things like this are happening. And, as you said, treat and give the equal kind of opportunity and investment to everyone under your brand. So, Rasika, of course, let's come to you and talk about how happy are you with the investment that's been put into the Femenino team?
If you see in Barca's side also, the men's team is preferred a lot. They're not even coming up with proper wins. If you see, Barca's men's team is really lacking a lot this season, even last season. But you compare Femenino team and the men's team, the female team is going way ahead in Barca. And I guess the investment, it's not because we're winning, you should invest. It should have been, like Radha said, invest and then we'll win, And they're proving at each and every point that we are equal. You don't need to, keep it as two different ways. We are equal and we are worth it of all the investment. I am not happy the way, like, literally they are supporting male side a lot. They're not even having a proper outcome from them. It's hard to say, but it's true. And where in the feminine side, they are winning leagues without losing any game. They are keeping the unbeaten streak, continuing it, and giving each and every game their best. I seriously hope that ahead, if they do not compare it as different team, and they be like, okay, equally, and they divide equally and pay attention at feminine side also as they give at the male side. I just hope.
Okay, Rasika, to counter question you a little bit. So you did say that the women's team is winning, continuously. Do you think that maybe it is because of, the other teams in the league, the other women's teams in the Spanish league haven't been given that kind of support from their own clubs? Like you also have the likes of Sevilla, even Real Madrid has a team this year, if I'm not wrong, for the first time in the league. So don't you think it's because that the other teams aren't getting that same support and encouragement in terms of, even monitoring well? That may be the reason as well, that you have one team performing at a really high level and the others aren't.
Yeah, I would totally agree to your point where in the league where we won, like literally, I guess more than 128 goals we scored in that league, and all matches we won. Yeah, the other teams were in comparison with Barca, their support for that team is very low, due to which it might be one of the reasons why Barca is winning. It might be, but the team is scoring also. The team is giving their best. Like if you see in men's football also, there are teams where they play very low and all, still they're winning against Barca. If you see, last match was also draw. It's football. Even small team can make like big wins against big teams. You cannot just say like, okay, because it's Barca's going to win. No, it does not happen that way. So even in feminine side, yeah, they don't have support, but the players are playing, right? So it's not because only Barca is getting support and the wins and all are there. They're winning on their own also, I feel. Yeah, but this is a point where the other teams are not getting that amount of support and Barca is getting. We may count this at a point, but I feel it's not the only reason why Barca is winning.
Radha, would you like to add anything to this?
Yeah, it's quite hard to say that. Unfortunately, apart from the big names in football, and their women's sides, a lot of clubs don't get investment. A lot of women are semi-athletes, semi-pro, right? They're not even, they have day jobs. They aren't able to train the entire day. They train in the evenings. And that's the reality that we want to change. That's the reality that first we have to highlight. And thank you for doing so through these kind of platforms, right? And once that's highlighted, then there's a scope for it being talked about. And once it's talked about, then the clubs are going to be like, shit, they know what's happening. Let's step up our game. If Casey Stoney is leaving from United has got such a rich history. I mean, you think of United and you will be shocked to know that their women's side started 2 years ago. It's shocking to me. Like, it blows my mind. And the fact that Casey Stoney, who's a legend in the women's game as a player, took on that role, and after 2 years, she's like, I can't deal with this. They're just not supporting us. They're not investing in us. I'm out of here. Just imagine the kind of lack of investment that's going into that team. And they've now been fourth on the WSL table for 2 years in a row. They had very good chances of qualifying for the Champions League. They unfortunately didn't. And they had a lot of injuries. Their players couldn't recover in time. I don't know what kind of medical facilities they were being provided, what kind of training grounds they had. But the fact is that Manchester United cannot provide their women's team with this. Like, Gary Neville was ranting on and on during the ESL. I haven't heard him say a word about this, right? And that's the problem. As soon as he says something, 10 million people will automatically hear it. If they want to, they don't want to, they'll hear it. And the second that, he steps up and says something, that's when change will be made. That's when the owners, anyways, this whole Glazers out thing that's happening. But it's just, it's really sad to talk about this, but I'm glad that we're bringing it up. It's something that desperately needs to change. Otherwise, competition is not going to rise. Otherwise, United, City, Arsenal will, and Chelsea will keep doing their thing, and the other clubs will sort of just fade away. And the same with Barcelona and things like that. So it's a question of continuous investment.
Yes, true. And since you spoke about United, when Kristen Press and Tobin Heath came to this club, obviously there was a lot of noise, but not as much as it should have been made. There was a lot of noise about it, and their sales of their jerseys even broke records of the men's men's jersey sales. So I think that is something that shows that the power of women's football is definitely reaching somewhere, but it's not enough, as we've said multiple times. Okay, so now let's get back to talking about the game. the upcoming final. I'd like to know your predictions in terms of the scoreline. So, Radha, you can go first.
That's so interesting. Firstly, I want to say that VAR is going to be used in this final, which is interesting because it's not been used throughout the tournament. It's not been used in any of our domestic leagues in any country. So I personally, I'm not a fan of this because if the players are not even training with VAR, you can't just dump it in the biggest game of their season. So that I feel like will play a big role in, decisions and everything. I hope not. I hope it's a good game of football on both sides. I feel like it's going to be a high-scoring game. There's no aspect of hanging back there and not conceding away goals or anything. It's just go out, all out. I'm sure no team wants to carry it into penalties. So I'm going to go with 3-2 Chelsea. The 3-2 Barcelona. And yeah, it's gonna be a good 90 minutes.
So Rasika, your predictions for the game?
Yeah, usually I don't predict, but I'll predict for you. It's going to be 4-2 Barca winning. Regarding all matches like Barca has played before, it's been a high-scoring game for every match. So I feel this time is also going to be interesting, and Barca is going to win 4-2.
Okay, thank you. And let's do the thing again where we ask one thing. So, Radha, if you had to say one thing to the Barcelona fan before the game, what would that be?
Yeah, it would just be that don't be too upset. I know that it's hard to lose a final, but it just comes down to having that momentum, and I think Chelsea have that momentum. But yeah, it'll be a good game. Just don't cry too hard at the end.
And Rasika, one thing you'd like to say to Radha before the final?
Yeah, for Chelsea, I guess women and men's team both are in Champions League final. All the best for your men's team. They have chances of winning, but Femina, I don't think they are.
Fair enough.
Okay, great. And since you mentioned the men's team, Radha, on to you. The fact that the men's team and the women's team are in the Champions League final, both in the same year, how are you feeling about that?
Yeah, it's a great feeling. It gives me confidence that the owners and the management are looking at both teams very closely and are tracking progress and making sure that we're not just concentrating on one side. It's easy for, if the men started doing well, just talk about them, promote them, XYZ them. But the fact that, the women reached the final before, I feel like limelight was thrown there. And I've seen this year exponential growth of Chelsea fans and Chelsea men's fans, going towards the women, which is very, very important. And the fact that this is being hyped up as both teams are in the final. The new kit was released today. There were men and women in that promo video, right? That is so important. That is just so important. I think one place where we're lacking is where you can see the investment disparity is that when the women qualified for the final, whatever, there was celebration. Unfortunately, there was a social media boycott then, so really nobody said anything. But when the men qualified, that night itself, there was merch on the Chelsea mega store of Istanbul, Champions League final, all that. I'm still waiting for some women's merch. So I think you can see in that aspect when it comes to those finer details that we are missing out. We are absolutely missing out. And I'm so happy that both teams have qualified because you have an equal stand to compare them both now. They both have reached the pinnacle of European football, yet only one side has merged for themselves, right? So I think we need to change that come the following years. But it's already history of two clubs, one club, men's and women's team reaching the Champions League final. It'll be history if both can win it. Even if the men lose and the women end up winning, Chelsea will still be the first club to have a men's team having won the Champions League and a women's team having won the Champions League. Same for Barcelona. So this women's Champions League is actually riding on it because whichever club wins, they would really create history.
Yes, that's amazing. All right. So the next question to both of y'all is there's obviously been a lot of uproar about racism in football currently. So what are your thoughts on it? This is something that should have been brought up way before, but now it's gaining traction. So Radha, you can go first.
Yeah, it's shocking that this kind of stuff happens in 2021. I think it's just completely unacceptable. I do not understand what kind of pain these people are going through who sit behind screens and troll people online or shout at those players in stadiums. I mean, it boggles my mind. It's very, very unfortunate that these pro athletes are going through that. Be a pro athlete, or you're an actor, or you're just a shopkeeper. Anyone going through racism is just it's really bad. It's not a good feeling for sure. And I think not enough is being done to counter it, especially by the social media companies. We've spoken about the boycott, and the entire intention was to, highlight to the social media companies that we're just going to completely take away your revenue or your ad generation by all of us will boycott social media, and then you will really struggle. But instead, you should start reporting these people and blocking their accounts. That unfortunately didn't happen. We had a 3-4 day boycott, but racism has continued, trolling has continued. I'm really happy with the ways that the players have been able to compartmentalize that aspect and keep it away and not, let it affect them. Obviously, it has affected them, but it's important to now sort of, because it's happening, keep it aside. I think as people who watch the game, as fans of the game, we have to condemn it, actively condemn it, not just say, oh, it's happening, but report it when you see it. Call people out, tell them that this is just unacceptable, create content about why it should not be happening. I think that's really important. And I think if I can take a minute to talk a little more about the more intrinsic racism within at least women's football in England. The last the Lionesses camp, the English women's team camp, had just a couple of women of color, right? The rest were all white women. And we wondered, why is that happening? We realized that as investment is poured into women, and this is such a juxtaposition because we're invest in the women, and they started investing, and all the facilities and the training centers have now shifted to bigger cities. And with that happening, a lot of the minority families live in suburbs or live in smaller towns. Their kids and their players are not really able to travel and make it to training. That's what I read a couple of articles that say that. So because it's kind of urbanized all the facilities, the families are not yet that urbanized. And that's kind of cutting access for all these families of color and minority families to reach that. And, the men's facility universe in England has reached such an expansive extent that their facility is training everywhere. Small town, rural area, big city, doesn't matter. That's why you see such diversity within the England men's setup. Mm-hmm. So I think we need to now come to a stage where there is enough academies, facilities everywhere around England for the women, that we have equal opportunity for young girls despite their race, despite any sort of discrimination. And then hopefully we see more diverse appearances within the English national side as well.
Yes, definitely. And Rasika, would you like to add in something?
I totally agree with Radha's point. She has kept very well. She said very well. I don't think that, people should, be judged on their color. It do affect people, like you're saying, just because your color is that you cannot play or you cannot, do this. No, it's really very bad. Right now we are at the 21st century, and this thing happening it's very shocking for us to even hear such things. Yeah, it does affect, to a person saying, the player is not showing that it's affecting on the game. They're not showing it in the game. But yeah, it does affect at some places. You just, for your color, you're being discriminated, that you cannot do this because no. We never discriminated because your color is that you should not do this. No one can say that. No. Color does not divide us what we can do and what not. The talent, it's just on our talent. If my color is not that, and I can still play. You are no one to say that, because of my color, I cannot play. No. It just hurts me a lot, when people discriminate of color, and I don't know, I cannot put it in words. It hurts a lot to be. I guess many people have gone through this, not only in football or in just cricket, and on normal basis also. And this should stop, no doubt. And people have started on small basis, but it's not coming out that way. If everyone start coming together and they just say okay, stop racism. Everyone is trying, but nothing is coming out. You can still see people commenting on their color, commenting on you're from rural bases or you're not in the high society and all. No, it's really very bad that people need to show just because you're fair in your high bases, it's not that you get a golden card to come and just do whatever you want. No, even you should have been asked questions. It was not it was not their decision to come as black kid. No, sorry. They are way more talented than you are, if I might say like that.
It's just very wrong. Definitely, it's just very wrong on so many levels. Yes, Radha, you would add something?
Yeah, I actually just wanted to add that it's very important that white athletes talk about this as well, right? They have this platform. You have to show solidarity for your teammates, for your country people, and not just by a very customary kneel. Everyone is kneeling now. So everyone is doing that bare minimum. You have to step up and actively talk about it. Maybe conduct a webinar and talk about it, or tweet about it, or go on for an interview and talk about it. But it's important to for the colored people on the team to see that we have this kind of support, that our teammates are not going to stand for what we are going through. And especially in the NWSL in America, there's been a lot of controversy, a lot of people choosing not to kneel, a lot of people having millions of followers on Instagram and not even tweeting a single thing about Black Lives Matter or any sort of movement which is against the social evil. So I think it's important for these celebrities, they're celebrity figures, and they have to step up and, you know, a lot of people idolize them. A lot of people worship these athletes. So the second they step up and sort of make their voice heard in the right dimension, then that will really put strides forward in this movement versus racism.
Okay, so on that note, we are ending the show. Thank you so much, guys, for being a part of it. It was absolutely a pleasure to have you. Hope to see more girls on the show and more women's football supporters on the show as well. So a big thank you to both of you, Radha and Rasika, for coming here today. And also, don't forget to check us out on our social media pages on Instagram and Facebook. All your support is really, really appreciated. Thank you so much, girls. Thanks for coming today. Thank you.
Thank you.